We have seen 40 years of unacceptable human suffering from cluster munitions. The world is now taking action. We expect over 100 governments, producers, stockpilers, former users, and those affected to meet in Dublin to negotiate a treaty that will ban this weapon forever. This will be the most significant treaty on disarmament of this decade. We believe this treaty, this new ban, will show that governments, civil society, organizations driven by a common cause can be more powerful than any one superpower.
Cluster munitions are big containers that open up in midair and spew out usually hundreds and hundreds of individual bomblets that are designed to explode on impact. They are perhaps the most dangerous conventional weapon in the world today because they kill and injure far too many civilians. They kill too many civilians during attacks because they spread out over a wide area and can't be precisely targeted to the military objective. And then afterwards, those submunitions that don't explode on impact function as anti-personnel landmines, lying in wait to kill the next civilian that comes along.
If this treaty is truly going to end the suffering caused by cluster bombs, the rights of the victims must be at its heart. The impact of cluster bombs is felt far beyond people who have lost limbs. Farmers can no longer use their land. Fishermen get them caught in their nets. Schools and doctors' surgeries can be difficult or impossible to get to. Poor families get poorer as they struggle to support disabled members. Emotional trauma is widespread. Support for all these people must be included in the treaty.
كده منا وقعت على الأرض عن قيمة قعدت وزعت بإيدي كنت ألعب مع رفقاتي ونلعب هذا مع بعض بس هذا ما عادش زاد فيا ليش كله بيقولولي إنه انقطف أصلا إنه يطلع مصباح وتبقى إيدي منيحة بس هيك.
We need to stop fighting today's wars with yesterday's weapons. Cluster bombs were designed for war on a massive scale, but the kind of wars that we fight now, be it in places like Iraq, Kosovo, Afghanistan, are wars of intervention, where your aim is to win the hearts and minds of the people. And you're not going to do that if you use indiscriminate killers like cluster bombs.
For the Dublin negotiating conference, we've got three main concerns based on the talks that have happened so far in this process. We're worried first and foremost that a number of states might try to seek exceptions to the prohibition on use, production, and trade of the weapon, that they might seek to be able to continue to use those weapons they have in their own stockpiles already, that we think cause unacceptable harm to civilians, but they want to continue to use. Another issue is there are some states who are pushing to be able to continue to use the weapon even after the treaty bans it. They'll get rid of it eventually, but they don't want to do it right away. To continue to use a weapon that causes unacceptable harm to civilians makes no sense. The third issue is there are some states who are being extremely sensitive to the desires of states who are not part of the negotiations, but who want to continue to use cluster munitions. And when they engage in joint military operations with a state like the US that's not part of this, they want to be able to allow the US to continue to use the weapon. We find this just unacceptable.
10 years ago, a visionary initiative banned landmines worldwide. Today, more than 150 countries have signed that ban. Some big players have stayed outside: Russia, China, the US. But who is using anti-personnel landmines now? Burma, possibly some Russian units in Chechnya. But this weapon has been thoroughly stigmatized. It is no longer politically acceptable for this weapon to ever be used. Through this new treaty banning cluster bombs, we will do the same.
Governments have been talking about banning cluster bombs for years, but the Oslo process is the only vehicle that has ever produced any results. We can't wait another 40 years to do something about this problem. The only way forward is the Oslo process and the Dublin negotiations. It's now or never.